So, Ann, thank you for that call, and I want to talk a little bit about the races, but with the caveat that let's not make this too political, because
right.
as you say, you've endorsed those two candidates, but Kim Overman is running against whom, and Mariella Smith is running against whom?
Mariella Smith is running against Victor Christ, and Victor Christ is moving from a district seat to a countywide seat. He's already been on the commission for 8 years, in office for 26. The other seat is, both of these are countywide seats, so everybody in the county gets a chance to vote for them. The other seat is a countywide seat that was targeted by Sandy Merman, and then she withdrew and stayed in her commission District 1. So that is a countywide seat. Kim Overman won the primary. She'll be running against the Democratic primary. She'll be running against Todd Marks, who, by the way, has already received money from this developer at the Upper Tampa Bay Trail, thousands, the guy who wants to take away the trail.
Well, I want to be fair to all the candidates, of course.
Sure.
We'll have all of them on, I'm sure, between now and November. And if you'd like to hear from Todd Marks or from Kimberly Overman, for that matter, we aired a debate between all of the primary candidates about a month or two ago. So please go back and listen to that. So that's coming up in November, and who knows what will happen, but it could switch. Right now there are 2 Democrats, I believe, on the commission.
Yeah, you're right.
And there could end up being 4 if depending on what happens in November's election, and so that could change the balance of things on the county commission.
There are actually, and I wasn't planning for this to be something other than the trails, but
right.
There are actually 4 seats up, with Democrats running in each of the 4 seats, and the other 2 are, actually it's Ken Hagan is going. He's been on the commission for 16 years, and he's been going back and forth between the seat of the northern part of the county and countywide, and now he's going back to the seat in the northern part. And this was, by his acknowledgement, his project to get this to happen. This Upper Tampa Bay Trail, he acknowledged that at the meeting, so I'm not saying anything that's he also has significant contributions, of course, he's running against, from the developer here. He's running against Angela Birdsong. She's the Democratic nominee. She did not have a primary or anything. And then in the District 4 is to the east side of Hillsborough County, and that's Commissioner Stacy White. He's been on for 4 years, and he's doing a second 4-year term on East County, and he has a Democratic challenger in Andrew Davis.
813-239-9663 if you'd like to join this conversation. My guest is Commissioner Pat Kemp from Hillsborough County. And let's take some calls. Let's see. Bob in Odessa. So that's pretty close to the trail. Do you use the trail, Bob?
Version of Marion Hammer.
I have a guest calling in at 12:40 to talk about a different topic.
Lawyer lobbyist.
If you don't mind,
I guess appears out of
you
nowhere.
could stick around and we could see if anyone else wants to talk about this later. Is that all right?
To vote to approve the project.
Thank you so much for your comments. And we're in a budget process now, and I haven't even brought this forward with the county. But at this point, because of this has just happened, I want them to buy the strip of land, and there's no reason they can't. And it's a small strip between this trail and Gun Highway to the east, where they're trying to push the trail and keep that all, protected. Or to the west, I'm sorry, I said it wrong, to the west, and we could have a small pocket park. But I also want to look into why in the world can we do this without a process. So with these lands should be protected like every other land. We should have a conservation easement over them or some kind of comp plan category so that this could never go forward in this way ever again. You can't just covet a parkland and go, I want to buy it, and have secret negotiations with the county where it doesn't come to the commission and the public attention till days before.
Thanks for that call, Bob. And so let me, I'm going to move on to a different topic in just a couple of minutes. We have our next guest on the line, but I do want to just say the land you're talking about is between the highway and the trail is owned by the developer of this.
The developer owns both sides, but he's I think there's already some acknowledgement that basically it's someone. There's a guy, Chris Dye, who's owns a hotel up there and some other things, and developer lawyers, father and son, Dan and William Malloy, have been doing the negotiation on this and have been the forward face. And they have acknowledged to people that they're basically somebody's interested in actually just flipping this property anyway. But they're all the face of this. It's owned technically, I believe, by, and I'm looking into this still, Alliant Realty, just kind of like a big company out there. But they, I don't even know actually the back story of the property, but they bought it with the trail going in between. There's other places that do that because they want to have a trail next to their property. They can develop both sides of this. They can have access on the west side to Gun Highway. They can have access on the east side to Ehrlich Road at the north. And so and both of them have different development plans on either side underneath the comp plan that's under it now for some small commercial development on the road, on the Gun Highway side. Like, you could have some cool little trail things.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the city of Dunedin, where there's a lot of development that has one face, the front door, I guess, opens up on a street, and then the back door opens up on the trail, and that part of the property
and
is very
it's already in the comp plan to do that. But now they want to move the trail, take down all the trees, and put it on that property. So then you couldn't develop that property that way. The people whoever owns it apparently owns it both sides. But that was never the plan, and they knew it when they bought it. And this is just stunning. They obviously just want to buy it, cut down the trees, and throw up their apartment building and parking lot, and probably not even have it facing the trail. I have a feeling they're not really using the trail in the way that honestly a smart developer would.
Well, our guest has been Pat Kemp. She's Hillsborough County Commissioner, and I want to thank you for coming on to WMNF's MidPoint, Pat. Thanks so much, and stay with us. I have a feeling that people might want to talk about this again before the end of the show, but I do want to move on to our next guest is Erin Wiley. Hi, Erin. Are you on the line there? Yes, I can. Thanks so much for joining us. And Erin is with the March for Our Lives Tampa Bay, and she's specifically with the Tampa local group, the co-leader for Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. And this Saturday, I believe it is, September 15th at 5 at Curtis Hickson Park is something called Bans and Ballots. So, Erin, thanks so much for joining us. What is Bans and Ballots?
Having me. So Bans and Ballots is a nonpartisan voter information concert. The students from Tampa Bay March for Our Lives have band together with Students Demand Action, our high school Students Demand Action group here in Tampa. And as the co-lead for Tampa Moms Demand Action, I've been providing them support. So they've been setting up this concert to be an amazing experience for people to register to vote, to encourage folks to vote, and to raise their voice for change. There will be speakers from the Everytown Survivor Network, including Corinne Pennebaker and Myra Algier. And we have some names that you might recognize coming from the National March for Our Lives group. Emma Gonzalez, David Hawes, Sophie Whitney, Brendan Duff, and some other students as well that have been working along with our Tampa Bay students, I believe since June on this. When they started announcing their Road to Change tour, the students started collaborating with the students from Parkland and started working on this. I think it's going to be an awesome event.
Do you have a list of some of the bands that are playing? Aaron, you still there? Don't know if Aaron can hear us. Well, thanks so much for joining us on WMNF MidPoint. Aaron Wiley, I appreciate your calling in and letting us know that Emma Gonzalez, David Hogg, and a lot of the other students from the Students Demand Action Tour and the Everytown for Gun Safety Tour will be in Tampa on September 15th. That's this Saturday from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock at Curtis Hickson Park for what's called Bands and Ballots, BANDS, ANDBALLOTS, hashtag Bands and Ballots. To talk about registering people to vote and getting people active to vote in this upcoming election season. So thank you for that call, Aaron. I guess we lost her, so what I'm going to do is go back to the phones. I think people are still interested in talking about the Hillsborough County Commission, for example. Let me read a couple of emails. This is from Jeanette, and it says, I lived in Sarasota. The developers have free reign to destroy any green space that exists there. Now it's just moving into Tampa and St. Petersburg. So that's an email from Jeanette. We also have Melanie writes in, and she says, she's from Sun City Center. She says, excuse me, but I just started listening and may have missed this, but how did this even get this far? Was it a developer-generated request? If so, how dare the real estate department even consider it? Seems like they need to change their mindset of all development is good. And Melanie goes on to say, thank you, Pat Kemp. Hopefully you'll have some help on the commission after the election. So Pat's still with us. Maybe you can answer that question for Melanie.
I really don't think, and again, I had addressed a little bit about process. I don't think this should have ever been able to, I think before anybody ever talked about it, it should have had to come on first, should have had to come before the commission to even have to even discuss this, for our staff to have worked on it like they did for 6 months. And it should have come forward as one of the commissioner's items, not a staff recommendation, to authorize them to keep going and sign off on behalf of the commission. And I think that process is a process that is highly questionable, and I'd like to, if we can change the commission, it's certainly some of the things that I would like to see change, because I think that she's right, and that's a sharp comment. The process is broken, and this shouldn't have never even gotten this far.
Well, Cindy writes in a really long email that I'm not going to be able to read the whole thing online, but let me just tell you that she says, I'm a 65-year-old Hillsborough County resident and registered voter. I'm opposed to the proposed relocation of the Upper Tampa Bay Trail to make way for an apartment complex. She goes on with 3 main points: safety, destruction of the tree canopy, and recreation as her 3 main points, and she gives a lot more detail after that. So thank you for that email, Cindy. And we have, let me see, a text from 813. Any plans on fixing the Big Bend exit? It's been over a year since you last spoke on the issue. So 813, Pat Kemp, is asking about the Big Bend exit.
The Big Bend exit is it's a scheduled, it's an FDOT project. They have that on some kind of list, in the long term to be done. I think it's like a $50 million big project down there, but that is on the list and moving as those kinds of projects do. One of the things they say about trails, and there's a great trail group for the state of Florida that advocate for trails across the state, but they talk about trails should have 3 things. They should be safe, scenic, sensational. But in Florida, especially, they should be shaded. I think you could say that about every place, actually, when you really consider it. And this is an email that I got that I read before the commission, and it speaks a little bit to what the last email in question you had. As an outdoor lover and frequent user of the Tampa Bay Trail, I cannot believe that the county would even consider anything to alter the existing trail in such a harmful way. The idea of having cars turn across the trail into a large parking lot for an apartment complex is very disturbing. But what's even more disturbing is the fact that it was virtually hidden as an innocuous sounding agenda item, which is absolutely true. We do not need this. We do not, in caps, want this. Do not authorize staff to negotiate with this developer to do a land swap. Make the developer work within the existing bounds of the property. Thousands of Hillsborough County residents use this trail for recreation weekly. Leave it alone. I thought these kind of back deals ended with Cone Ranch, which that kept being an area that finally the public took control of with the ELAP program. This stinks, is what they said.
All right, let's hear from Aaron in St. Pete. Hi, Aaron. What would you like to say?
Well, that's not the way it should be, because they're not writing any kind of check. I mean, we already own the land. It's not the way it should be. We are, I'm a representative of the people. I was elected to do this and make these decisions. So there's no way that, that's not where the process is and not where the power should lie. You as a citizen should demand of your elected officials that, they do the right thing. And although it gets complicated, and if you live in the city of St. Petersburg, it's going to be a different agency if you're talking about, it's going to be the city, if you're talking about city property. The unincorporated area of St. Petersburg or Pinellas is hugely different from Hillsborough County in that it's got, I think, 24 different jurisdictions, all those little beach communities. It's got the city of St. Petersburg. The unincorporated area of Pinellas County has 250,000 people. That's way, way less, actually, than Hillsborough County. And although people don't realize this, Pinellas County in about 1995 stopped growing. It basically has had no growth. It's shut down at 950,000 to a million people because so much of the land, almost all of it, has been developed. And the name of the game, I think, for Pinellas, and it could have this for its future, but there's not a lot of developers that are looking at that because that's not the mentality they think with in Florida, but it's redevelopment and redeveloping the space in a better way. Whereas in Hillsborough, we still have lots of open land. That's the cheapest and easiest thing is for them to just throw houses or to look at a trail and go, hey, I want that. Let me put an apartment building on it. So it's a little bit different. We're also growing at we've grown since 1995 by 450,000 people as opposed to Pinellas like 50,000. And we're continuing to grow here in Hillsborough County. And our unincorporated, we only have 3 incorporated cities. The unincorporated part of Hillsborough County is the equivalent of, by far, the largest city in the state of Florida. There's 850,000 people in it. And anybody in that area, that's under the jurisdiction of the commission.
Our number to call in is 813-239-9663. It's 12:54 in the afternoon, and you are talking with Pat Kemp, Hillsborough County Commissioner. My name is Sean Canan on WMNF's MidPoint on 88.5 FM. And Anonymous is going to ask a question, and I'm going to start the answer, and you can finish it. So Anonymous here says, I understand this is a done deal. Is that accurate? What now? Is there anything that can be done to save the trail? So the vote was not to go ahead and make this swap. The vote, Commissioner Ken Hagan suggested that you leave the negotiations open and that you negotiate to maybe do this land swap. And you were the only one to vote against that. So what does happen next?
Well, the original vote, which was denied, the original motion that someone made was to authorize staff to just do whatever. And I think if that had quietly happened, this would be a done deal. I made an amendment to that motion, which was had a second. The second was pulled, and so the amendment didn't go anywhere. I made a motion that sure they can negotiate. They do that all the time anyway with developers with their plans or whatever, but they can do it within the framework of don't touch the trail. It's our property. It's 100 feet strip going through there. The trail's 15 feet. We apparently own 30 or 40 feet either side. So my motion was, go ahead, continue to negotiate with developers. That's what they do anyway. Well, that's what the motion was being made. They could do that no matter what. They didn't need a motion for it. But I made the motion for protection of the trail within that negotiation with an absolute no-go on touching the trail. And it was pointed out that in essence, was negated Ken Hagan's motion to do otherwise. And so they supported Ken Hagan's motion, but not mine. So the posture that it puts us in is we all need to speak loudly, and we all need to organize, and we all need to say, hell no. And I think that we're in a posture that there should be no negotiations. Commissioner Hagan kept saying, well, we might be able to get some really good things out of this, like some good trail amenities. I was like, what thing do you get that's better than what you have? It's impossible. So just keep an eye, speak loudly. They're going to have to bring this back to the commission with a plan to sell or swap or do something. It can't just go to this zoning thing to be quietly shoved away and happen before anybody knows what happened to it. So stay on top of this, speak loudly, and use your vote.
Amy writes, Dan maybe writes, I propose exploring a coalition of county commissioners and candidates who are advocating for preserving green space. I'm in Pinellas and we have the same issues. He says Amy Kedron is running for here. These are shared interests. Let's work together. So your thoughts on that email that we got from about maybe a green space coalition?
It's fine, but I think that not to discourage it. I mean, there's lots of regional things that happen, but it's not actually. I think a lot of times where even just within our county, it's so massive. We're on the size of the state of Rhode Island, and we have way different issues and focuses. And I mean, you could just, it's fine.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining me on WMNF MidPoint. Pat Kemp is Hillsborough.
By the way, maybe the Green Space Coalition could be Sierra Club.
Hillsborough County Commissioner Pat Kemp, thanks so much for joining us on MidPoint. I'm going to go to one more phone call after this, but I just did want to thank you for joining us. And so I have a guest on the line, or a caller on the line. Marianne in Tampa says that she knows that the bands that are playing on this coming Saturday are Bands and Ballots. So welcome to the show, Marianne. Sorry, can you go ahead? Yep.
Pete, kids from Plant High School, Sean McKinley, who is a PhD student at the University of South Florida, 76 Cut Short, which is the middle school all-star, all-girl band from St. Pete. We've got Eden Sharon, a singer-songwriter from Land O'Lakes, who is also a Florida Grammy Showcase finalist. We have the John Clark Band, and then we have James Cole, who is a 16-year-old singer-songwriter, who is also the president of the Tampa NAACP Youth Council.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thanks for calling that in, Marianne. I appreciate that. And again, for people who weren't tuned into earlier in the show, we talked about Bands and Ballots. That's September 15th, this Saturday at 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock, Curtis Hickson Park. It's sponsored by March for Our Lives Tampa Bay. It's presented by Everytown for Gun Safety. Students Demand Action. Emma Gonzalez and David Hogg will be there from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, is my understanding. That's what Aaron Wiley told us earlier in the show. And you can find out more information, either the hashtag Bands and Ballots, or I think they have a Facebook event page that you could search for Bands and Ballots Tampa Bay. And that's coming up this Saturday. And my name is Sean Canan. I want to thank everyone who called, emailed, and texted today. If you're still on hold, or if you'd like to leave a voicemail with your thoughts, give me a call at 813-238-8001, extension 114, and I'll play your message next show. A lot of you are still were on the line or emailed in about this Upper Tampa Bay Trail, so drop me a voicemail if you'd like, 813-238-8001, or online at WMNF.org/news, or on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram at WMNF News. I want to thank our engineer Alvaro Monte Alegre and our phone answerer Frank Knox. I'm Sean Canan. I'm the host of WMNF News MidPoint Monday. Tomorrow at noon, your hero Mark Bureau will host MidPoint Tuesday. Stay tuned now for John Gilmore in executive session. That's all coming up after NPR headlines on WMNF Tampa, St. Petersburg, Sarasota. Thank you for listening. Right. Thank you, Pat. Thanks for coming in. Sorry we kind of like detoured and then
No, that's
came back.
okay.
Yeah, it worked out well.
Yeah. I hope I wasn't too discouraging to that guy. It's just those it gets any more bigger. It's like,
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Larry
So
Mason.
there were a lot of people
Hurricane
that
Florence
wrote in.
on track to
Do
hit the
you
East
want
Coast
to?
later this week is now a
Yeah, you
Category
want-
4
Look,
storm.
we can go next door and you can
Top
like maybe
winds of
respond to them if you
130
feel
miles
like
per
that's
hour.
Okay.
useful.
NPR's
But they
Greg
need
Allen
the studio
reports
right now.
130 miles per hour?
is in effect for North Carolina's outer banks.
Thanks, Alvaro.
Hurricane Florence.
Good show, John.
Thank you.
So I'll be next door, Pat.
My youngest daughter
See you
lives in
too.
Charlotte,
Oh, wow.
and I am going to let her know that she is in the crosshair.
Oh, really?